Exclusive.
Hey guys, it's your favorite final boy and girl, Alex and Emily.
Hey.
Coming at you here in a new episode of Gag Me with a Knife, a weekly podcast where we dissect, disembowel, and shred the best and worst slasher movies. This is going to be a special episode that will not be following our normal structure because this is going to be a YouTube exclusive. So as our episodes generally focus on a single movie, sometimes a trilogy, today we will be ranking our top 5 most underrated slasher villains that totally deserve all the gagging. Emily and I are super excited to have a special guest with us today. Many of you will know him as Jay from Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon's Jay vs. Horror. Hey Jay, thanks for coming on.
Hey guys, it's I'm happy to be here. It's always a great time when I get to hook up with you guys.
Hell yeah. So we each have our top 5 underrated slasher killers. And since Jay is our guest of honor, he'll be going first with his number 5 pick. Then Alex and I will follow suit. So what do you have for number 5, Jay?
Let me just say before we begin that I took this very seriously. I do consider this to be a competition. And I know that both you guys are very skilled when it comes to 80s slashers, so I assume that my character is up for assassination today if I don't nail this. So I used all my trickery and my sorcery and my knowledge of horror movies to kind of circumvent what I thought you guys might do. And the back end of my list is heavily loaded with films from the past 2 decades. So I tried to go around you guys that way because I knew you would probably kill me in the section of just pure 80s slashers, because you guys always come up with stuff that I've never heard of, and nobody ever does that to me but you guys, by the way. And so yeah, I am starting here at number 5 with Ray Sawyer, played by Rick Kramer from Venom, a 2005 slasher film. Has a great cast: Megan Good, Jonathan Jackson, I believe. Not Joshua Jackson. Don't want to make that mistake. But yeah, it's got several. Method Man is in it. It's got several stars from that era. And it's a fun slasher movie. It's basically a voodoo-inspired slasher movie. We have a woman who exorcises demons from people, and she has a suitcase that she's carrying these demons around in because she's a voodoo witch priest, or whatever they call it, doctor or whatever. But so she has this suitcase full of demons that are represented as snakes, and she ends up in this car accident. This guy who's a, tow truck operator tries to save her, and he's kind of like the local outcast. He tries to save this woman from going over the bridge. They go over together, and of course, all the evil demonic souls go into this tow truck driver. And so now we got this guy walking around looking like a rotted corpse, dragging a chain and carrying a crowbar and taking out every teenager in town. It's a fun movie. I mean, the problem with this movie was, and I think it's pretty much been admitted by the guys who produced this was an attempt to make a new slasher franchise, right? But where they failed was they got in right on that, in that era of CGI, where if you use cheap CGI, it didn't age well.
Right.
And so their film, within 3 or 4 years, that CGI was terrible compared to what was, being shown on like Avatar and stuff. So it really failed the film effect-wise, I would say. There's a lot of effects in this film that are just like, man, that's terrible, because there are so many that do work. There's really great like jump scares, and he's an intimidating killer. I thought it was a very good film. So at number 5, I had Ray Sawyer, played by Rick Kramer, in Venom 2005. Some people call this character Mr. Jangles.
So I think that's a great choice. Like,
yeah, you really did trip us up, because
that tripped us up totally. And this is also going to be great for me because I've seen the poster for Venom all the time, but around the 2005s, that era, what you said, like the CGI effects made things look a little crappier than they might have been. And this was also, I believe, like when Dimension and Miramax were doing all that weird stuff. And so I don't know if Dimension left Miramax or Miramax left Dimension in terms of the production companies, but like that was a total cluster. So this probably movie was like set up to fail to begin with. But you said Jonathan Jackson. Okay, boom. I'm sold. I'm watching this because
Camp Nowhere.
I'm obsessed with my mud from Camp Nowhere. And then, of course,
And from the soap opera.
And Lucky Spencer from General Hospital. So we're Jonathan Jackson stans.
Oh, we love him. Yes.
It has another guy in it that I like a lot who doesn't get much play. His name is DJ Catrona. He was in like the G.I. Joe movie, and he's been in some terrible films, right? But he also played Seth Gecko on the Dusk Till Dawn series, and I thought he did pretty good at that. He was actually picked to be Superman in the original Justice League movie that they planned. Armie Hammer was playing Batman, and DJ Catrona was playing. They have like set photos of these guys together in Australia dressed as Batman and Superman and stuff. But the movie never came to be, and then they went on in a different direction. But yeah, they had it's got a lot of young talent from that era in it. Bijou Phillips, I believe, is also in it. Yeah. So
if only Andrew Keegan had been in it, that was.
Yeah, no, he did great as Seth
But
Gecko.
I love Bijou Phillips.
He pulled off George Clooney's like whatever, I thought he did a great Seth Gecko.
Great bravado, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I go next. My number 5 is Angela, and I don't know her last name, Alex, you might, but Angela from Night of the Demons. I know that she is a famous villain to people that are very into 80s horror movies. Mm-hmm. But besides that, she's not like people don't really know her a lot as much as, I mean, I do, but beyond the people that are in the 80s stuff. And she's a great villain. She's a great villain in all 3 of them. She's Rue McClanahan's niece. So, I mean, she kills the dance floor, as we said. And she has this, especially in the second one where she has a little more humanity because her sister is in the movie. Mm-hmm. She's creepy, but you like her. I don't know. There's something about her, especially, you see her at the beginning before she's possessed, and she's likable. Like, and she cleans well. She's super fun. Yeah. She's a lot of fun. So, and she starts the whole thing, like if it wasn't for her, Linnea Quigley would never have that lipstick in her tits. So. Yeah. So Angela Franklin is her name. Is it Franklin? Okay. Yeah. I will say that people probably don't consider this more of an 80s because parts 2 and 3 were in the mid to late 90s. True. So facts. Yeah. Facts. That's probably it. But it was all 3 of them are the first one was solid. Groundbreaking though, Oh, 100%. Now it is. At the time, it probably wasn't. But yeah. It was great. And, the remake, which we won't really totally talk about because except for Eddie Furlong was in it and I love him. But Angela Franklin, I think, is Shannon Elizabeth in that one. And she does not bring to the table what's her name, Amanda Kincaid, or no, we will not no, but she's not as likable. We will not speak of the remake. Yeah. Amelia Kincaid, I think. Amelia, thank you. Yeah, so that's a great choice. So Alex, you're number 5. Golf. All right, I've got one that's gonna just probably make everyone turn off the podcast for number 5, but I promise my my choices do get better. But in my no, they don't. But F off my heart, my choices are underrated people. Okay, so for number 5, I have get on with it. I have Roy Burns from Friday the 13th 5: A New Beginning. So, he's a paramedic, and while being called on the scene to this halfway house for a murder, he discovers the victim is his son, which we don't really know their whole story. We don't know why he's placed in this halfway house, why he disassociated from his son, whatever. None of it makes sense, but because of his murdered son, he kind of pulls a Pamela Voorhees almost, goes on a murdering rampage of revenge and impersonates Jason. He's got an arsenal of kill tactics. He's got road flares, knives, axes, garden shears, ropes, spears. I mean, he is literally killing every way you can. And I know a lot of people don't like this movie. And I don't know if it's because they only don't like it because it's not Jason, but right, but they still like the first one. I was gonna be like, I don't know if it was genuinely because they hate the movie or if it's they felt tricked and it wasn't really Jason. But I also think that the guy that played Tommy was like really boring. Well, he sucked, yeah. But in the end, this is one of my favorites in the Friday franchise, and I think Roy deserves more love and quite possibly a Snickers bar. True. I also think that it's funny because I was thinking about I wouldn't have, but I was thinking about putting Pamela Voorhees on here because she really is underrated. I mean, she started the whole franchise. But
no
Jay,
one cares about her, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But Jay, what do you think?
Personally, I hate Roy.
Yes.
Not because he's not because he's bad or anything, or because I hate the movie, but I just don't like Roy because he's kind of a jackass.
He's a horrible actor too. I mean,
he looks like Lou Ferrigno, first off, but he's a jackass. Why I got like people ask me, Jay, if you could have 5 minutes with anybody in horror. Roy's on that list. Like with Vincent Price and stuff, because I got questions about why
let's
his
do
kid.
Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yeah. Huh?
Said we should do Celebrity Deathmatch. Bring it back.
Yeah, I think I think I read something where they are thinking about bringing it back.
Well, they should bring you back and Roy.
Yeah, Roy. Yeah, I just want to ask him questions about like why is your kid in this juvenile detention center in a town where you live and nobody knows that he's your kid, and what's going on here, Roy? You have a good job. What's going on with your kid? You have a better job than most people do that take care of their kids.
And what's that scene that I think that you were the one that talked about it in our Friday the 13th special on the other podcast where you were like, the only reason they even like know it's him is because there's that like throwaway scene where they have to be like something where they like, zoom in on his face or something. I mean, you know what I'm talking about?
They did the best they could, right? Because the movie before this is called The Final Chapter. So when Paramount says, "Hey, guess what, guys? We just cashed a $20 million check. Write another one." They're like, "Okay, so what do we do?" So they go back to the original. They're like, "We're gonna do a whodunit like the original." And instead of Mrs. Voorhees, now we got Roy. Same situation. Somebody should have been watching the kid. Kid gets hurt. Now they're pissed, right? So they try to do that, but they don't want you to guess that it's Roy. So in their own mind, by keeping Roy out of the story and only showing him with these insert shots every now and then, like he's got like 2 shots in the movie before you find out he's the killer, and but they don't realize that we're not stupid. And when you're watching the movie and they just turn the camera to Roy and they say, and Roy goes, "Did you say something to me?" And
yeah,
like,
that's it.
Right? They're like, "No, Roy, we weren't talking to you at all." Oh, okay, boss.
They don't realize we're stupid.
Right. I'm like, so they literally put that shot at, they could not write a better line of dialogue than, "Is somebody talking to me?" They couldn't actually even make somebody talk to Roy. You know what I mean? "No, Roy, mind your own business. He's the killer." You know what I mean? Like, it's so, but it's a fun movie. I like it. I think it's probably one of the sleazier of the 80s.
Oh, it's definitely the sleazier
movies.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like Roy, but I don't like it.
I think it's a good pick, and I actually didn't hear you when you said that earlier, Alex. I think that's a good. It's something I wouldn't expect, but it makes sense. Alex, where are you, Alex? He's on mute.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
he was like going on and off of mute.
I was going on. I was unmute when I was muting, mute when I was unmuting. God, it's not like I've been in a pandemic for a year and have to do this every day of my life. So I think, while this wasn't the best, it did give a pause and allow them to then create. It made them create Zombie Jason. Like right. It was the great segue. And at the end of the day, too, had this movie been released like in today's society, the killer, the father of the killer, or sorry, the father of the victim would have not gone on a rampage. He probably just would have sued Snickers instead.
Probably.
So anyway, Jay, on to number 4. What you got for us?
I think I would have watched the whole Roy thing unravel on Court TV. That would have been fun to watch.
Oh my gosh, it would have been before the the Menendez.
So good.
So what's your number 4?
At number 4, I have a guy named Martin Bristol, played by Jay Cohen as an adult and played by David K. Guetta as a 6-year-old, and is from a movie made in 2004 called Malevolence. And it's a great film. It's a little indie slasher film that's basically... I
like that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically
you told me to watch that. Yeah.
To 80s slashers, and it starts out even with the classic misdirect that we've seen, ever since Hitchcock did it in Psycho. We've seen it a million times. They do it here. They do it in Dusk Till Dawn, even like where this one, there's a bank robbery set up and everything goes wrong with this bank robbery. And the criminals decide to hide out at this old farmhouse. But little do they know, right, of course, there is a guy here named Martin Bristol who is the most perfectly purebred psychopath of all time. This dude cannot feel pain. He is physically, medically unable to feel pain. So, and they give a whole good explanation for how this all comes about. He's 6 years old. The psychopath kidnaps him and realizes that he can't feel pain. So he decides that, oh, well, this must be a sign from God or the devil or whoever, that I should make him the perfect version of myself. So that's what he does. He turns him into a, purebred Jason Voorhees. And it makes sense. I mean, because there's always the question with Michael and Jason before he becomes a zombie about, where do they get this, mythical ability to just walk through walls and get hit in the face by people who would knock most of us out, And so this one gives a little, pretense to the situation and says, hey, well, you could throw that out the window because this guy can't feel any pain. And he's raised by a psychopath from the time he's 6. So he's totally insane. And it's a perfect setup. And, the movie, I don't know that it's aged great over the years, but I still like it a lot. And there's a couple sequels to this one. They actually got some money for the first sequel. It was actually a prequel, I guess, called Bereavement. And it had Alexandria Daddario in it and a couple other people. Yeah. John Savage, I think, was in it. Michael Biehn. So, yeah, it had a decent cast. And, you could tell just even the way it was shot was a massive upgrade. But the story was not, in my opinion, as good. And then, of course, they made another film a couple years later that went way back to low budget. And it's called Malevolence 3 Killer. They moved away from trying to even title it anything else, and it's part 3 now. You know what I mean? That's when they give up and they're like, hey, we need some cash.
Part 3 used to be the go-to 3D, and now nobody knows what to do with the part 3 anymore.
Right. That is sad. I wish I'd go back to that. I mean, I don't know how, but I think Malevolence was one of the ones that you told me to watch, Jay, for something or another, and I hadn't seen it, and I really liked it. I liked it because I like it when there are bad guys involved. And so, and then there's this killer. So you don't really know who to root for because they're bad too. So. Well,
yeah. Actually, me and Regina were just talking about that last night. She was telling me, she doesn't like movies like The Strangers. And we were talking about
that movie scares the hell out of me.
Well, everybody was doing those top 25 lists, and she said one that she saw a lot that she didn't care for was The Strangers, and she said that she doesn't like movies that make her feel anxious. And so when she likes the characters and they put the characters in these really stressful situations, that makes her feel anxious, like home invasion and stuff like that. Or rape revenge, that kind of stuff is, a little stomach churning,
Home invasions are my worst. Those are the things that scare me.
Yeah.
Home invasions are literally my biggest fear.
Even though that Cabin 28 movie, sucked balls, it scared the shit out of me because it was based on that kitty murder thing. Oh, yeah. Bye.
But it's like you said, I mean, and they do this also in a film called Texas Chainsaw 3D from 2012
with Alex.
One where he's in the amusement park the whole time, or something.
Right, where they make the killer kind of an anti-hero, where they're taken out. Right? Yeah, that had Alexandra Daddario, where that way it's guilt-free. You don't care if the killer is killing bad guys. You don't have to worry about, I hope they get away. You don't want them to get away. You want the killer to fuck them up, and that is a fun formula for a horror movie.
Well, I think that's maybe what they were trying to do with, especially something like Friday the 13th for a long time, because all these people were supposed to be doing something bad, but then people were like, having sex isn't a reason to get murdered. So,
and then feeling bad for the killer, a couple. I think Malevolence came out in 2004. Chainsaw 3D was way later, but Dexter, the TV show, he's a killer killing killers. So who's really the villain? So there's been this.
Or you can go back to Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left. Who's the real bad guy at the end?
Well, yeah. I mean, I get it. There's a lot. It's and some of these movies that we've talked about. I think that Malevolence, The Strangers, and Friday Part 2, like one of the creepiest things to me, and this is also linking to Town That Dreaded Sundown, these motherfuckers are all wearing these like sacks on their head, and those Sackhead Jason terrifies me.
Sackheads are scary.
Sackhead scares me. Sackhead and the Strangers scare me.
Sackhead and the Orphanage.
Yes, and so I'm pretty sure. So Jay did it again. This is another trilogy. You know, whenever you see free movies on Amazon Prime, whatever, you get kind of like, especially during the mid to early 2000s, you know, you get a little hesitant, you know, in 2004-ish. But if you're going to recommend it, I was like, oh, I want to watch this trilogy. So that's already now on another one that I have to watch.
I finally did that with Hatchet, but anyway.
Oh, yeah. So anyways.
I didn't like the first one, but I like the rest of them. Anyway, okay. So on to he said it's number 4. So my number 4, I'm sure everyone will be completely shocked. Actually, you know what? People will probably think I would put it further down, further to the top. Yeah. But my number 4 is Zach from Hide and Go Shriek.
Woo!
And I just find him to be a really interesting character. And our episode about that is actually coming out next week. So I don't know when this is coming out, but anyway, because he's just a strange character. Because he just wants to make a home with this guy that he was in prison with, and so he decides instead he's gonna, like, you know, go in this furniture shop where the guy works and dress up in the mannequin's clothes and then all the dead people's clothes and like run around, and I don't know, it's insane. And then all of a sudden he's in bondage. But I don't know, you kind of feel for him a little bit because near the end he's just kind of like crying to this, you know, his ex-lover from prison. He's just like, you made me do this. Well, I mean, that doesn't make sense, but you know, it's just he's a little heart-wrenching. So, and Hide and Go Shriek is my favorite slasher, so of course he had to be in there.
And I agree. I think it's a great underrated slasher villain, and
I couldn't do it with Evil Laugh. You know, the killer from Evil Laugh couldn't be on this. So
I had it originally, but it's basically Pamela Voorhees just in a different sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But for Zach, it is a little heart wrenching because, you know, he's telling his lover, "You made me do this," but like in general, it's like society made him do this. Like, because this is in the '80s, and like, you know. He's clearly gay, and I don't know if he has any other identifications.
We talk about the fact that he definitely has a bunch of other like
issues, and like so you feel for him, but he is also still killing all these people for no other, like they did nothing to him. But that's a great choice.
Jay, what about you? What do you think?
I think that Cry Me a River of 80s slasher movies. Good guy, guys.
Well,
you're killing me.
My number 4 is from 1988's Cheerleader Camp, and it is Corey Foster.
This is the only one I agreed with him on.
That's a lie.
That is not a lie, but go on.
So, like, I mean, I'd hate to be shoved into a frumpy baggy alligator mascot costume all day, too. Just saying facts.
I mean, that's another Cry Me a River.
But anyway, she's constantly being teased that she's not a real cheerleader.
She isn't constantly being teased. She's only being teased by Miss Titten.
No. Whatever.
Hold
on. Yeah, we're not getting it. We already have an episode about this. The other people are pushing her around. It's like there's like there's class warfare going on here with masks.
Oh, just because she has to try to push food up her nose hole.
All these things.
She's okay to kill everybody.
But 3 snaps her revenge, and none of that stops her thirst for vengeance. She stabs people in the head with shears, great scene, runs people over with vans, uses a cleaver, disembowels them with an axe, strangles people with a foot core. It is like Kill, kill, bitch. I love her.
And too bad she wasn't in Hey Dude.
Too bad, but I love her.
Jay, have you seen this? What do you think?
Oh yeah, the classic Cheerleader Camp. Yeah.
Have you seen it or not seen it?
Based on the work from the Marquis de Sade about classism, of course I've seen this. Yeah, no,
I think
guys, I've seen it like once. I couldn't comment on who, you know. I remember like it was an '80s slasher movie that I saw one time on a double feature. I think Society was the first movie. That's what I remember about it.
That kind of would make sense. All I'm saying is that what's the main girl's name?
Corey Foster?
No, the main girl,
Allison.
Yeah, Allison. She is nice to her the whole time. So
she is.
She does not deserve to be framed.
That's why that's why she lives and gets put in a mental institute. She didn't get killed.
While Corey's sitting there in slow-mo acting like she's living her dream as a cheerleader. Like, okay.
No, but at the end of the day, I really do think this is like a psychological thing.
I agree. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah. So Jay, I think we're on to you now for number 3.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to the 80s, guys, there's so many camps and slumber parties, sleeperways.
We love them. We love them all.
Yeah, it's like they start to run together for me a little bit sometimes. So, you know, you have to give the old guy a break. All right. At number 3, and this is the last one I'm going to do like this. After this one, I'm coming back down to earth where you guys are at. I think you're going to like the last.
I'm loving where you're at now.
I like that you did this because
I'm loving it.
People are used to listening to us just like go on and on about whatever shit this is. But like,
I stay gagged on all decades. I'm just saying.
Yes.
At number 3, I went with, now I said that Malevolence was an indie film, but Malevolence looks like freaking Forrest Gump compared to this movie. It's called The Orphan Killer from 2011, and the killer is Marcus Miller, the Orphan Killer. He's got a nice little rhyme with his name. Isn't that cool?
I've never seen this movie.
It is a straight up Halloween ripoff if Halloween was just a straight up murder flick.
If like Halloween was good, you mean?
We cut all the, that bullshit that John Carpenter does with suspense, cut all that out and just put like 10 gallons of fake blood in there and you got the Orphan Killer.
Listen, it seems like I would like this movie then.
Him and his sister, they have a traumatic event. I want to give it away. If you guys do get a chance to watch it, like it is one that people have to seek out. You know what I mean? That's why.
So we're going on the assumption of the mythos and the Halloween mythos that it's brother sister.
Yeah, this is This is the same. Like something traumatic happens to him and his sister when they're young. And I don't want to give it away because it's part of the plot to the movie later on. There is actually somewhat of a plot, but so they get put in foster care, and these nuns, it's so like ridiculous, but these nuns take her and they're like, oh, she's sweet and innocent and beautiful, and they start beating the hell out of him, and they start being mean to this kid, and they put him in a closet and make him wear a funky like mask that looks like a horror mask, and just pretty much anything you could do to make somebody become a psychopathic killer. That's what they do to this kid. And
Harry Potter suffered those things, and he became, the savior of Hogwarts.
I don't know anything about that.
I'm just joking.
Look, this is like I don't know how long later, 10 years later or something.
Yeah.
And for some reason, his sister is still at the same orphanage, although now she's a 19-year-old busty blonde who does some shower scenes in this, and she's still hanging around the place for some reason. But Marcus Miller, the Orphan Killer, shows up to get revenge, basically, is what happens. And he cuts and slashes his way through priests and nuns and students and the cops that show up to respond to the calls. And finally corners his sister, and they have basically a Michael Myers and Laurie Strode fight to the death, but just covered in blood, buckets and buckets of blood. It's a fun movie. I like it a lot. They made a sequel. Don't try to watch the sequel because it was just a cash grab thing. That director, I was friends with him for a while after this came out, a few years after this came out, and he kept hitting me up for money, like just straight up hitting me up for money.
Is it University of Tennessee? Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, like not like
sorry,
and not like a Kickstarter or anything like that. Like the dude would ask me for money, and I'd be like, I don't feel comfortable just giving you money for a project.
Also, like you would
without
just
any
sitting there, like
So, so they did put out a sequel, but the only way you can get it is if you buy it from the director. And from what I've seen, it's pretty freaking bad. But this one was good, and I'm gonna give the dude props regardless of the situation or whatever. But I like the movie a lot. The Orphan Killer from 2011, Marcus Miller, The Orphan Killer.
So my first question, and maybe a lot of questions, 1, 2, Fright is coming for you. Is there a Martin Miller Orphan Killer? Is there a song in the movie? Did they miss that opportunity?
It's like a little. The kids. Okay, so they try to give us. There's probably about 4 films worth in this one, right? Because it goes from him being like, it's like the opening of Rob Zombie's Halloween. We got to get the whole damn backstory.
Hate a backstory. Hate a backstory.
Because that's what a supernatural
psychopathic
killer needs is a textbook background. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, for real, like, bye.
But anyway, but it's good, like I like it. It's mostly done in flashbacks real quick with the younger stuff. And it's just like, the kids make fun of them. They're like, Marcus Miller, blah, 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 or whatever. And then when they
Good
10 years
one.
later,
Got a girl and couldn't keep her.
Right. It was so stupid. Like there is no reason they just don't like this kid when he shows up.
Hit him where it hurts. Say his name.
And they're like, it was his destiny. He was written in this film to become a psychopathic killer, so there was no chance for him other than that. But anyway, the Orphan Killer.
As Gene Wilder says in Young Frankenstein, destiny, no escaping, not for me.
Well, when you title something like The Orphan Killer, it's a weird thing because it invokes a little extra sympathy than normal from people.
That's true.
But then at the same time, you're like a breath of air because you're like, oh, I have a family.
Yeah. Maybe that's the takeaway of the film.
He's not coming for me.
Be glad you have a family, even if they're shit.
Even if you don't want, even if you have to pound 3 bottles of Chardonnay every holiday.
I apologize now to all the orphans out there who are listening to this.
Sorry,
podcast.
orphans. I'm sorry. Yes. That sounded really, really not real. Sorry if you're an orphan.
And speaking of orphans, we can go back, but this is just want to plug this movie real quick. I just watched the movie. It's Indonesian, I believe. It's called The Queen of Black Magic. It's sort of a remake, but not. That just came out. Anyway, it's really good. It's supernatural around an orphanage. Anyway. So Emily, what do you have for your number 3?
Cool. Can you tell that story again?
I will.
But my number 3 is Terry from Blood Rage. And this is a movie I've only seen twice. But I think the actor that played both Terry and Todd, they're twins. I you know what? I really think he's a really good actor. Honestly, I know that he seems ridiculous. I think he's ridiculous when he's Terry, but I think he's supposed to be. And when he's Todd, I think he's really good. But besides all that, he has some of the best deaths I have ever seen in a horror movie are in this, and it is because of, and I can't remember his name right now. He did the special effects for tons of stuff like Terminator 2. His name's Ed French or something like that. He did the effects for this movie, and he has the hand cut off with the beer in the hand. He has the woman who has her entire body cut in half, and it looks really cool. It looks good. It's not it doesn't. I mean, I don't even really think it looks that fake. I could believe it. I've never seen a person cut in half in real life. Well, maybe I have, but I watched some weird things. But I don't think I have. So I mean, it looked real to me, and I think that what
looked real? Her legs still kind of moving after she was cut in half?
Yeah, well, and her guts spilling out and stuff. And I don't know.
No, it was a great scene.
He's a really good bad guy. I mean, because he's so creepy and he's such a annoying teetotaler, sanctimonious little bitch. And he just, sorry, but he is. But you want to hate him too, because you're you put your fucking twin in a psych ward for his whole life or something you did.
I know.
And you're just sitting up in here living in your mom's house, who's insane, and you're going. So because he's out, you're going to go and not just murder people, but cut them in half and decapitate them. And I really like him. I think he's real. I think that actor is great. I love him.
And the character itself, because again, they were I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old at the beginning when he framed his brother for that murder. First of all, Blood Rage is a movie that everyone should be watching. And, but yeah, when I was younger, I didn't have a twin. My brother was just 2.5 years older than me. But like, we would not close a bag of chips right, and we would blame the other person. We didn't.
You should always open them from the bottom, because then you get all the good stuff. Like it. Just by the way, just that. Okay, life hack. Sorry.
The bottoms are the best. But then we would never fucking frame a motherfucker for opening up a bag of chips. like the character itself, Terry and Todd, but mostly Terry. It's a very good underrated killer, and I had never even heard of this movie until like a month or two ago. So I think that's very valid and a great underrated choice.
So what's your number 3?
I have Big Ed Cooper.
God.
Big Ed Cooper from...
I forgot I didn't want to ask.
The Mutilator, which is
one's okay.
Which is also known as Fall Break. So, Big Ed Cooper, first of all, the Fall Break or Mutilator, the best bop of all time.
It is good bop, but not a great movie.
It's a great movie. Bye. And so Big Ed Cooper is overly consumed by years and years of anger and grief at his son for accidentally killing his mom while he was like trying to clean his dad's rifles or something, and like, oops, shot her in the face. I don't really remember, but either way, it
really reminds me of Pieces. But anyway, go ahead.
Big Ed gets his son and friends at their hunting home for fall break, and the rampage is just like it begins. It's like we've always heard of a woman scorned. Hell hath no fear like a woman scorned. But Big Ed, he is running people over with boats. He is drowning people, cutting people, stabbing people with machetes and pitchforks and fishing gat, like all these things, cutting legs off. He essentially gets cut in half at the very end by this like car scene, but then his final energy, he cuts a leg off a cop. He's just in it, and I just think that nobody knows who Big Ed Cooper is.
It's a Varsity Blues Part 2.
Bye.
Okay, so Jay, what did you think about Blood Rage? I picked Terry from Blood Rage, and Alex's pick for The Mutilator.
Well, I totally agree with you guys about Blood Rage when you say that that's a film that if you haven't seen it, if you haven't heard of it, you need to go watch it, because I think Blood Rage would be like one of those more famous films. But what happened was, if I'm not wrong, when that movie came out at the theater, they cut a tremendous amount of the effects out of it.
Always.
And so it didn't get any love. It was just kind of...
Yeah, they cut it out and called it Nightmare on something to...
Shadow Lane or something like that.
Yeah, to profit off of Nightmare on Elm Street, and they cut like most of the gore out of it.
So that, the film suffered quite a bit on its initial release. It took it a long time to catch a cult following.
Well, that's what that's like the reason that it's so awesome is because of the insane amount of gore and like special effects from like, I think that guy's name is Ed French, something like that.
It's also, I guess, probably most famous for being the most well-known Thanksgiving horror film. If you're going to watch the Thanksgiving,
besides Mutilator, which is, I guess, Fall Break.
But and Mutilator I've only seen a couple times. I can't comment a lot on that one, except for I remember it being one of the better, second tier slashers from that era.
Well,
yeah, I was really disappointed. Honestly, like I really wanted to love Mutilator, and I was really excited when I got an original VHS copy of it. It's not in the cover is not in the greatest condition, but it's like goes for a lot of money, so I was like so excited to get it. And I don't know, it had all the elements there, and then it just cut. It was just, I don't know. There was something.
Mutilator did not receive well when it first released, and it did develop a cult following.
I think it was because it came out at the same time as something else. I think it's because something came out at the same time or something like that.
And speaking of Thanksgiving horror movies, now these aren't really slashers per se, but my favorite Thanksgiving slashers, one of them, there's the Thanksgiving movies, which is Bye. And then there's also Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. I'm just throwing them out there. Hey, throwing them out there. Yeah, they're garbage and they're incredible. Throw them away
in the trash can.
They're garbage and they're incredible.
Okay, so Jay, what's your number 2?
Okay, so for number 2, I'm gonna dip my foot in the water here and say from 1981, Mikos Tananopoulos, played by Big George Eastman in Absurd from 1981.
I do like Absurd. Yeah.
I like this one a lot.
Yes.
Great gore in this movie, and great story behind the film. You know, they did Anthropophagus, and it got on the Video Nasties list. And so Joe D'Amato said, "Hey, George, let's do another one." Because we got like a push, you know. Back then, they would say you can't see.
Is Absurd the football one, the Super Bowl one? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was initially conceived as a sequel to Anthropophagus.
Anthropophagus, yeah.
And so George came on board, but when he came on board, he read the script and he told Joe, he was like, "I don't want to do this. This is like more of the same old stuff." He was like, "Let me rewrite the script," and Joe said, "Fine, I don't care." You know, he's like, "I don't care," and so. George is famously quoted as saying he wanted to do something that was good, something like the Americans were doing, something like Halloween. Mm-hmm. And basically, that's what he tried to pull off. And I like the killer, though, because this one, like I said, we have an explanation. The killer here regenerates. And instead of Donald Pleasance chasing around Michael Myers, we have a priest chasing around this monster. And so the priest... One of my favorite parts of this movie, the priest is explaining to the cops what they're dealing with. He's like, "Yeah, this guy, you know, we were doing experiments on him, and so he can regenerate, and he's evil, and he's going to keep killing people, right?" And so the cops, instead of like, you know, because I was a cop for a little while, my initial question is like, you know, what the hell church do you come from, guy? Where you experiment? Are you experiment on people like this? What the hell? Are you, like, you're not Are you a mad scientist or are you a Catholic priest? What's going on here? You know what I mean? But anyway, so they just go right into, okay, well, we got to catch this guy, and it's Super Bowl Sunday, so nobody in town is really paying attention to what's going on. They're all concerned with the game, even though this movie was shot like on a Greek island and nobody speaks English and all the football stuff is stock footage. It's hilarious, right? But yeah, and the big game starts, I guess, at like 9:00 at night, because that's when they need to really kick off the horror element of the movie, is nighttime, where this guy can go around and stalk kids and stuff. So, but yeah, I really like it. You know, I like the fact that he regenerates, and I like the end too, man. This is a great final shot in this film. It's a great one.
Okay, so my number 2 is the Driller Killer, specifically from Slumber Party Massacre 2. Mm. And I just want to go ahead and say, F all you haters of Slumber Party Massacre 2, because a guitar with a drill on the end of it is amazing. And I don't care that there's not a real death for like an hour of the movie. He's amazing. He has dance numbers. He looks like Andrew Dice Clay, which I guess probably isn't a good thing. I mean, he's not the greatest guy, but yeah, that's my number 2. Driller Killer, SPM 2. Not 1, not 3, 2.
He's my favorite Driller Killer of all 3 of the movies, to be honest. I love his guitar.
Obviously, same, but
I mean, his guitar drill, it's like, it's unmatched. And then I'm not usually like a leather aesthetic or like eyeliner type bad boy type person, but he gives off those vibes, which
leather
like the
daddy.
Yeah, well, leather daddy, but like in his 20s. I mean, because he's super young, right? But he's really cool. He's just a really,
he's not John Saxon, but he's not like old.
He's a badass. He's a badass. I love him. Good choice.
Oh. What do you think, Jay?
I like the movie. I mean, it's fun. It's not a great movie, but it's fun to watch, and I like the music and stuff. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like, what's that movie with Johnny Depp, Crybaby?
Oh my God, Crybaby!
Yeah.
Something like that. If it came from somebody a little more twisted, like John Waters or something, right?
Except for that it came from a woman, which is pretty cool. And I think that the people that like hate on it, I just don't think that they can. I don't know. I mean, you're watching a slasher movie. Like,
it's a fever dream movie.
Like,
as well. There's a lot going on here.
Suspend belief. You know, I don't understand what the hate is for it, but
I mean, here's the thing: if anybody can watch that and see all these girls like dancing naked and throwing feathers and wine on each other, okay, you already suspended.
And they were in Friday the 13th, so.
But it's like you already suspended belief to watch that scene. How about you suspend it for the rest of the movie? Because girls don't do that. Bye.
Yeah, I know. Crystal Bernard's not sitting up in here, like looking at dead birds and being in a I mean, like, whatever.
Yeah, great choice.
All right, so you're number 2.
All right, my number two is from a movie called Blood Beat.
Which I've never seen, but I've heard it's terrible, so.
It's terrible, but it's amazing. But it's considered, it's a Christmas movie in Wisconsin, maybe not. But
state?
Huh? It's Wisconsin.
Oh, I thought you meant it's only considered a Christmas movie in Wisconsin.
I know. So in the Blood Beat, we have a giant samurai whose spirit, in like the wildest of nutshells, and not to overcomplicate this movie because it's a supernatural slasher. So like 75% of the movie makes zero sense, right? But this samurai spirit was conjured and like psychically linked to this female masturbation and multiple orgasms. It's just like while he is slashing, she is furiously masturbating. And
it reminds me of a friend I have, but also reminds me, I'm not joking, she is disgusting. But it also reminds me of that movie with like Frankie Avalon where he has the flute. Do you know what I'm talking about? The flute that like brings it's really stupid. To life? No, he like when he plays the flute, it kills people. It's really stupid. Anyway.
But yeah, seriously, she's having sex, and it's not just her masturbating. Like the masturbation scene, she finds the samurai sword and like a suit of armor, like in her boyfriend's house in Wisconsin while she's there.
God, this girl I know could be in that movie. That's her life story.
Like she's the in-law. She finds this suit of armor and like sword, and later on she's masturbating and like this like samurai spirit like appears and like starts killing people, and like every time that he thrusts the sword in, she arches her back and like under the covers like her hands are in herself. And
this is a story that has happened that I've seen. I'm not joking.
So thank God that every time that we masturbate, we don't summon samurais that kill our loved ones, I guess.
Okay, so Jay, what do you think?
Have you heard of this movie, Jay, or seen this movie?
It's on Amazon, I think.
It's on Tubi. It might be on Amazon or Shudder.
It's on Amazon.
Well, I'm definitely rethinking my plans for the evening. I don't want anybody getting hurt.
Well, the girl isn't in your state, but I don't know if I should play it. She might be getting on the weeping.
You all got to watch it.
No, I have not seen this one. It sounds like a film that I saw, but
in real life.
No,
never gonna hang out with her again.
Emily, shh.
There's a German film called.
You're mean.
There's a German film called Der Samurai, and it's about someone who that's what happens to them. They get possessed by the spirit of an ancient samurai, and they start killing people. But it's not the same thing at all. It doesn't sound like there's no masturbation in that
Probably
film.
better, but I mean.
All right. Well, I ruined your all's lives with my number 2 choice. But again, underrated. Who's ever heard of that?
I have, and it's underrated because I would never watch it. But
you'll watch it.
Probably.
So
people
my number
are gonna
1
watch it now. People are gonna go watch it. They're gonna be like, I want to watch that masturbation.
I want to watch a girl masturbate.
And they're gonna message me being like, "Who's that real girl?"
Yeah, I'm gonna watch a girl masturbate and summon a Japanese samurai warrior in full armor who starts stabbing people. Like, get out of here.
Okay, so now is where we do our number 1s because Jay, as the guest of honor, gets to do his last.
Okay. Well, and to be in alignment with one of Jay's earlier choices, my number 1 is.
Okay, well, I was next, but go ahead.
No, I'm always number 1.
No, you were not. I was next, but
we did this before the calls earlier, Emily. It's
whatever. Go ahead.
You just can't. Yes, we did this earlier. We already had this conversation.
Okay.
You had vodka. So number 1 is.
Oh my God.
Stage Fright, an Italian horror movie, and the killer is Irving Wallace. So, the movie essentially follows a musical about this fictional mass murderer known as the Night Owl. Then a cast member hurts her ankle, gets taken to the hospital, and the hospital that's only closest is a mental institute.
Oh, it's wonderful.
But while they're in this mental hospital, they come across a man whose name is Irving Wallace, and he's been locked up. He was a previous actor who was locked up for going on a killing spree. So it's like fiction becomes reality or vice versa. So he escapes, whatever. But my whole point is, at the final, first of all, I didn't even preface this, or I shouldn't. Irving Wallace, he is walking around with the business suit with the giant, hugest, biggest, badassest. All these words are not literally, whatever. None of this is correct.
Literally?
He has a fucking giant owl mask on. It's like the size of a 36-inch pizza. I mean, it's huge. A huge owl mask on his head. And he is running around and he is climbing ropes, cutting people's heads off, chainsawing people, drilling people, stabbing people, all while wearing this gigantic fluffy mask. And at the very end of the movie, he compiles all his dead bodies on stage. And he sits in a chair. He turns on Vivaldi. I made that up, but something classical. It's a famous classical number. He turns it on, sits there in a chair. This cat, I guess all theaters have cats, jumps on his lap, and he is stroking this cat while it's purring, and he's just sitting there. And it's just iconic. And if you haven't seen a slasher movie when this motherfucker has an owl mask on, you got to change it. So that's my number one. That's my number one.
You've got to change your life. By the way, you can go back and listen to these, and I was before you. But anyway, but not
at the end.
Whatever. Okay, so my number one is David Hess. Okay, I went against the rules because I was doing 80 slashers, but I named David Hess in any role, basically. House at the Edge of the Park, Last House on the Left, as my number one slasher, killer, villain. I would go as far as to say that David Hess' character in horror movies is the best villain of all time, by far. I'll go that far. And he was, his name's Krug in Last House on the Left, that, is precursor to Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street. And he's awful, but he's still easy on the eyes, even though his nose is kind of big. But whatever, I would still date him. And he is a true evil villain, and he does music too. And I bet he's not like that in real life. So that's my pick. David Hess.
Good choice.
What do you think about those, Jay?
Well, starting with Alex's pick, Stage Fright. Love that movie. Directed by Mikel Suavi, who was a student of Fulci and Argento and D'Amato. He was actually in the movie I was talking about, Absurd. He plays just a bit part as a motorcyclist. He's in the Demons in the beginning of the movie, and he was basically just a student of these guys and learned how to make these great Italian horror films. He also did another one later on called The Church, which was pretty good. I like that one.
Yes.
Wasn't Asia Argento in that one?
Asia? Oh yeah, Asia. Yeah,
it's Asia.
Yeah,
I was
thinking of Alexandra Aja when you said
she
that.
did a movie in Knoxville, and she ended up making out with 3 of my friends. So.
I would, as gay.
You want to stay away from that. I'm just saying.
I want to kiss her.
Well, you can. I don't know if you do.
Oh.
Not knowing who she's kissed, but go on.
Aja? Okay, bye.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Well, she's a little nuts. That's for damn sure. She was
for damn sure.
She tried to pay off a guy that she had sex with who was underage, and she didn't have enough money. Yeah, she didn't have enough money to do it.
Argento?
Yeah, and she was dating Anthony Bourdain when he committed suicide, and
Lord, what?
He had agreed to pay this young guy off for her before all that happened, and then committed suicide. So there's a lot of weird stuff with Aja out there, but
she's the weirdo.
I had no
and
idea.
I met her for a second when she was she was making that movie
XXX.
The Heart is the it's
the steeple above all things.
Yes. Because I was flipping through the channels at my parents' house one time, and I was like, oh my God, is that Ian, my friend Ian? And I was like, do I really have to see him in Maryville? And he was like in a shot in the movie. And I was telling him that. I'm like, God damn it, I can't get away from you, Ian.
Yeah, she directed that, right?
Yes.
That's right.
So anyway.
But yeah,
Right. Ooh.
Stage Fright. Anyway, yeah, it's a great movie. I like it a lot, and it's cool. Like it's a turning point. Really, Stage Fright is a turning point in Italian horror because Stage Fright takes a step to the left. It's a giallo, and I will argue with people who say it's not. It is. It does have.
It is. Yeah.
It has those classic elements, and that's where it comes from. It's definitely born from that, right? So, but it also takes a step to the left and towards the American slasher. And so it kind of changes the direction of where these films were going. I think it's interesting if you compare this one to another film that came out the same year, Opera from Argento.
Yes.
They're both they both have like music as a character in the film almost. And
yeah,
they're very comparable, but you looked at Argento is still on that straight and narrow giallo path with the black gloved killer and the same setup, but where so obviously says he wants to do something different. Let's use an owl's head, and it works. Great film.
Yeah, and the way that it just looked, Italian movies, the way they're filmed, it just looks like
I love the way they look.
It's like a glossy.
It's like
filter.
Like Technicolor, even after Technicolor.
Yeah, it's always just the colors are just so vibrant and pretty, and it's just so. Amazing to see these movies, even like 40 years later. They're just stunning.
I mean, right from the beginning on this one, you can see that Soavi is a student of film, right? You can see because like when the opening shot, it starts tracking the girl and the music starts, and they don't tell you you're watching a play at first, right?
Right. I was so shocked.
And so that's an Argento thing. That looks like an Argento shot.
Yes, and that's why. Yes.
So you see all the tricks, in the movie, and he perfects them into a really good formula in that movie.
I had no idea that you said Soavi. Was that how you pronounce it? Soavi?
I don't know if it's Soavi or Soavi or.
I had no idea he was like a protege or a student or even studied Argento or Fulci or Bava or any of them. Like I just knew it was Italian, and I just knew I loved it, and that makes sense to why this is my number one, because Dario Argento is my number one of number ones of always, and Suspiria is my favorite of all time, and that made so much sense as to why I freaking loved this movie so much. Oh, thank you, Jay. See, you thought we were going to be stepping on all these things. You have brought so freaking much like insight and enlightenment to me tonight, and I love it.
And I'm sure we brought so much to him.
Oh, I'm sure talking about a girl in a crocodile mask is really changing Jay's life right now.
It's been interesting.
He's like, I was like, he's never going to do this again.
It's been interesting. I was watching Saturday Night Live before this. This is
exactly the same. I mean, we're on the road to comedy fame.
One of the great comedy teams of all time.
Yeah, well, you know what, Jay? When we're up there doing that, you are totally invited anytime you want.
He's invited now, even when we're not there. He's always invited.
He's the one that has a Patreon, not us.
I mean, come on now. All right, Emily, what you got for number two?
Hey,
number one.
I said number one already.
I was gonna say Emily.
He was the last one that did it. Alex.
Yeah, Emily's pick was David Hess, and so David Hess. Just to talk about that for a minute. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like you cheated, Emily. But at the same time,
I know, I did. I
did cheat. She did cheat.
I did. But I thought, I know. But House at the Edge of the Park, I felt like went enough into slasher that I could add it.
She pulled a John McClane on us. She had a gun taped to her back the whole time.
Yeah, that's
but here's my thing. Emily would probably hate me for this. I think that Garrett Dillahunt did a much better version in Last
get out of here. Go away.
Also,
okay,
he could stab me. I would let him. He's that hot.
All right. Hey,
what you got, Jay?
I gotta stop you right there because
Jay just did his number one, funny. Alex.
This is so funny, right? Just last night, okay, so I'm just a media addict, and I'll be honest with you guys. I watch I rewatch old sitcoms. I rewatch old television. I rewatch old horror movies. I constantly have at least one or two screens going. And one of the things I've been doing recently, the last couple of days, is rewatching Deadwood. And I started with season 1 and just played them one right after the next. And I was watching season 2, and Regina's like, that guy is so familiar. And I said, Garrett Dillahunt? She goes, yeah. And I said, he was in last season. I was like, he played Jack in last season, and he plays Walcott in this season. He's two of the biggest villains in the entire show, and he's so different in both those roles that people don't even realize it's the same guy, you know? And I was like, he's an amazing actor, and he doesn't get enough credit. I loved him as the funny dad on Raising Hope, too. He's very... he's good. I mean, he can do comedy.
He's great.
Right. He's
I've
chilly.
been watching Modern Family, so...
Oh,
yeah.
You're welcome.
And your number 1, Jay, was, once again...
My number 1, I didn't do yet.
Oh, I thought... Okay, Alex, what was your... Okay, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. I'm texting Emily right now. She's like, he already did his number 1. And I'm like, I texted her and I said, what was Jay's number 1? We keep going back and forth and re-recording. I'm lost. And I'm not even drunk. And I was like, there's no way.
I'm not either.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Okay, so Alex, give your number 1, and then Jay.
I gave my number 1.
He already gave.
You said you didn't.
You guys
he
both
said
already,
he didn't.
You guys both already gave your number 1, didn't you?
It's Jay's turn, Emily.
It's the owl. It's the owl. You know, I'm not wasted. You were acting like whatever. You were. I just got out of work. You were not. Okay, whatever. Okay, Jay's number 1. This is the most important one.
Right now, I'm thinking about Sandra Bullock in Speed. She was driving that bus. She couldn't stop.
And Alex is Dennis Hopper. So
and everybody was screaming behind her. All right, guys.
Bye.
So, like, what I had here, I don't know if there's any good way to wrap this up, but what I had here is, like, let's be honest, okay? There's really only one number 1. And so I'm going to knock that out real quick. And that's just Mrs. Voorhees, Betsy Palmer. A lot of people forget, you know, that she was the original killer. And I like to go back and watch the original one and the manhand scenes where it's obviously not Mrs. Voorhees who commits these crimes. But
like I said earlier, I thought that would be a really good pick because people are always thinking, you know, like when you did Roy and when you did Pam, that's a really good pick.
But that one's a little. That's a gimme, right? That's like...
No, I don't think it's a gimme at all.
I don't think so, because I think people forget about her.
People forget about her because at the end of the day...
Except for in Scream, but I mean, like...
No, it's not that. It's because of Scream. He asked her, who's the killer in Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
She said Jason.
And
she is underrated because people forget Pamela Voorhees.
But it was a great thing, and, you know, I know Betsy Palmer wasn't thrilled with the film at first,
not
but
thrilled by it.
She became a fan of the fans later on, which is a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
But so I thought about that one, throwing that out there. To me, that's like we're talking about animal attacks and somebody says Jaws. I mean, it's like that's the number 1. I thought about Giggles because everyone knows I love Giggles.
I love Dr. Giggles 92 with my.
I just watched that for the first
time. Holly, what's her name? Jay, you know it.
The girl from Charmed.
Holly Marie Combs.
Thank you. When we were making this list, I was going to add Dr. Giggles, but I was like, I'm going to stick it into the 80s because I think Giggles was 92-ish. Yeah. But girl, I was wanting Dr. Giggles because that's underrated for sure.
Yeah, I just watched that for the first time a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Oh my God.
Which is making me want to watch The Dentist and Ice Cream Man.
The Dentist with Corbin Burnson or whatever is Incredies. So yeah.
Incredies.
So that's kind of like where I was at with my number 1 pick. But then I got to thinking, and I'm like, these guys are going to pick a bunch of obscure movies from the 80s.
We really didn't do that.
He's going to twist it on us.
And I'm like, I got to come up with something good here. And guys, this is for a lot of reasons. I am a slasher fan, of course. I'm a horror movie fan. I'm also a football fan. And so I went with The Destroyer from 1988. Lyle Alzado, 6'4", 280 pounds of steroids. This guy was insane, and the movie's not that bad. I just rewatched it recently. It's also got Anthony Perkins in it.
Wait, what movie is this?
The Destroyer from 1988.
Yes.
Yeah. Also had... What? So it's basically the same setup as like House 3, the horror show, or what's the other one, guys? Shocker, right? It's the same setup as that. We have an executed killer, except for in this film, he wasn't really executed. There was a power outage at the prison and a riot and a big misunderstanding. Everyone thought he was executed, but no. And now they are shooting a horror film inside the prison. Anthony Perkins is the director. And, of course, this guy comes out and starts killing people. He's killing off the actors. He's killing off the crew, security guards. And it's Lyle Alzado. He's insane. And you would think that, okay, he's not a great actor. He's not going to win. I think he passed away, God rest his soul, but because of he ended up getting brain cancer or something from his steroid use. I mean, it was heavily noted historically.
Lyle Alzado?
Huh?
Who was it?
Lyle Alzado. Yeah, Lyle Alzado. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's in an Ernest movie, so I know him from Ernest. I like Ernest. Sorry, bye.
Big, huge guy. I mean, looks like an animal. He looks like a beast, right?
Yes, he's massive.
And so he was perfect for this, and he could actually act a little bit. I'm not saying he's not an award-winning actor, but they had Anthony Perkins in the movie to kind of have a star.
Well, I mean, neither was Jason Miller by the time Exorcist 3 came around because he was like had wet brain, so.
Well. I mean,
sorry, I guess that was a downer. Sorry.
Shit.
Wow. Yeah. There.
Well, he did, but I was gonna give an honorable mention to the killer in A Blade in the Dark. That's my honorable mention.
Lamberto Bava.
Yes, I love Lamberto Bava. I actually, you know what? Like, I know that this is like blasphemy, but I prefer Lamberto over Mario. I just think it's because of the period, the period in which he likes to set his movies is not my jam. Right. Mario, but Lamberto, like all of his stuff, I really like, and that killer in A Blade in the Dark is amazing. It's another gender bender type of,
A Blade in the Dark was originally supposed to be like they commissioned
a miniseries
for TV, and then when they saw the first cut, they were like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, they were like, but that's why it's so weirdly paced. It is a weirdly paced movie
because each episode was going to end with a kill,
right? And then they were like, "We can't put this on TV." Like,
right? So they had to cut it all together. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good though. It's good though, and I like the comparison of Hank Williams and Hank Williams Jr. to Mario Bava and Lamberto Bava. It's kind of the same thing. They're both doing the same thing, but they're doing their own same thing, right? He's doing his own type thing. So lots of times you get that.
Lamberto was a little bit better than Mario.
Oh, Emily, that's probably.
I've seen the other dude in concert. He's
send your letters to Gag Me with a Knife, courtesy of Emily Dunlap.
So my honorable mention would probably be if I say the name Vincent Smith. Do y'all know who that is?
It's going to be one of those things where I say no and you go, well, you shouldn't because.
Bye. His name is Farmer Vincent / Pigface, and he's the main villain in Motel Hell.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
I mean, he's got a chainsaw, overalls, plaid shirt, wearing a pig's head. Underrated.
I also think the older brother from Texas Chainsaw Massacre original is underrated.
That's true.
No one gives him enough credit because he's like great, especially at the dinner table when he's like laughing and not laughing and laughing and not laughing.
He does a really good job acting and doing and giving off the performance that he should.
He's the best one at it, like looking like he's like okay, I'm gonna be normal, but like I can't be normal because I'm crazy, so I'm gonna start randomly laughing.
At the end of the day, Leatherface gets the claim to fame to be the villain in these movies, but at the end of the day, if you look at this, he's
the hitchhiker and the older brother, at least in the first one, are far more.
In the entire,
they're far more. Well, they're more violent because Leatherface is just basically a kid.
And all the movies in the entire franchise, Leatherface is a victim and a villain in everything you think of. Basically, he's just the face, but he's not always the villain. So
no, I don't think he is either.
There's other villains.
I don't think he is in the first one, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. You pointed it out, like. There's other villains, underrated villains that aren't. People think Texas Chainsaw, boom, instantly Leatherface. Well, I get it.
He was taught to be that way.
But there's other villains in the movie and underrated ones.
What happens is when someone like Sandra Bullock gets a hold of somebody like this, they become the blind side, right? They play left tackle in the NFL.
Or if
when Jim Seidel gets a hold of this
every
guy,
single bit of Gatorade I just drank.
Or if Reese Witherspoon got a hold of this, then let's get a Hulu.
It'd be Legally Blonde.
Let's get Hulu or HBO, because Reese Witherspoon is making critically acclaimed and Emmy award-winning HBO and Hulu shows now. So she would transform this into something else as well, like Sandra Bullock did.
Do you have a honorable mention besides anything else?
That's what I was saying there.
Sandra Bullock is his honorable.
Bullock is his honorable mention.
No, like if Leatherface
from The Blind Side,
if Leatherface ran into Sandra Bullock, he would have been the blind side, right? That's what he would have been.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
He's got that kind. That's what. But because he ended up with these inbred cannibals, he became a really great inbred cannibal. So,
oh my God.
That's how life works. Some people run into Sandra Bullock and Tim McGraw.
Some people don't.
Life changes you, or you change life.
Yeah, such a great, inspiring story, The Blind Side, by the way. I love that movie.
Oh, it's fantastic. It is.
Oh, yeah. Because obviously those white people were not taking advantage of that 6'7" black guy in any way when they got him to go play for their hometown college. None of that,
Sandra Bullock really didn't help.
It's just a great feel-good story, though, all the way around. I have my questions about the Blind Side lady. And then, because also the guy from that has come out since then and said stuff about how he's by their family.
Yeah, and this is a little IMDb trivia for me and Emily. Philip Fulmer was in The Blind Side. He was a coach. He was a coach.
Don't even get me started.
I'm just saying he was a coach of the UT Vols for years, and we were
friends with his daughter. And she wore socks with sandals.
I'm not even okay. I was just gonna say three things. There was no subjectivity. It was literally Philip Fulmer lived down the road from both of us.
And he knew us, and he would never remember our names, and it was rude.
He knew my name, and
he did never know mine. But
okay, bye. Sorry, but we went to his house for prom. Is all I was trying to say.
No, I didn't go there that year.
Oh, sorry. I mean,
did you guys have? I mean, I'm sure you guys thought of this. How about Dan Hicks as Bill Robertson, Intruder from '89?
Oh, love.
Intruder is a huge. That was like a 2 or 3 or down. It was almost made the list.
Hated it the first time I saw it.
Same.
Second time, loved it. And because the thing is, I don't really like Sam Raimi. I'm sorry, guys. I don't really like Bruce Campbell. I'm sorry, guys. But like, they didn't do that movie though. But they were, they made cameos, and I think that they were great in their cameos, and I love that movie. And we did talk about that on Jay's wife's.
Yep.
Her name is Regina. She's not just Jay's wife. Her name is Regina. And we did do a review over on the Intruder.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, it was.
I
awesome.
listened to it. I remember that episode.
Yeah, the Intruder is a great one.
You and Regina. That was why I watched the movie. I'd never heard of it till you all. I never heard of it.
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's got like everything that I would like about Sam Raimi, and then nothing that I hate about Sam Raimi. If that makes sense.
It's got Renee Estevez. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's not in it that much though.
It is funny though.
She's so.
And how about Simon Sotomayor as Marty Ranson from Slaughter High?
Oh, he was almost on my list.
Emily sent me a picture, and she'd given me a top 5, and she wrote Marty and crossed it out like that.
I did because I put David Hess instead.
Yeah, she put David Hess as number 1. That was going to be it. So Marty is a great.
No, he wasn't going to be. No, he wasn't going to be number 1. Well, I hadn't.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I don't know what he was going to be, but.
I mean, he was literally between 2 and 1, and you crossed him out and put.
Okay, I put the numbers later, Alex.
Oh, well, whatever. You can't.
All right.
I don't know this.
Well, hey, okay, so we're gonna end this, and Jay, why don't you tell our listeners about like everything that you do? Because I think it's really important. I think what you do is really, really awesome. For one, I'm just going to go ahead and say that you're like the biggest supporter of other people's stuff, and you're amazing.
Oh my
and
God, yes.
You have helped me personally and Alex so much, and I can't say enough good things about you. But I want you to plug your stuff now.
I refuse. No, look, I like horror movies. If you like horror movies, you might like what I do. It's Jay versus Horror on YouTube. Check it out. I just talk about whatever the hell I feel like talking about. A couple times a week, I'll do something that I usually do. Maybe I'll talk about some free movies you can watch on Tubi TV, or I'll talk about, a specific year. I'll do a top 10 from a specific year, or some mornings I just wake up and then whatever, I take the dog out for a walk, and whatever goes into my head, I think, I want to share this with people and other horror fans. So yeah, I'll get on there and try to knock something out and talk to people. And I always want to hear everybody else's response. That's, like part of what I'm in it for, because I said last night, I was doing a live last night, and I said, guys, like at this point, what do you think I'm in it for? I've seen it. I've seen all this stuff. It's only enjoyable to me now to know that other people are watching it and to enjoy it like as a community. So yeah, that's basically it. Check us out if you like horror. If you don't like horror, I don't know why you're listening to this, especially.
And seriously, do Patreon with him. You only have to pay like $2 a month. I mean, you can pay more, but it's worth it. He has stuff every day. It's not BS. I mean, it's like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, the content
is great.
The POV situation, everything.
The content is great, minus maybe this one, but
yeah, we're bringing him down with this because of we're talking about some really trashy slasher. They're underrated for a reason.
Okay, I don't think it was to talk about trashy slashers. I think it's
they're underrated. The fact that we had to talk about underrated from like 40 years ago, the fact that they're still underrated.
Oh, I was just saying like we were the bad ones, not them. But anyway.
No, but Jay's incredible. Everybody should follow Jay. And like, if you're listening just for us as Gag Me with a Knife, know that Jay discusses all horror. And while we focus on 70s, 80s right now at this time.
80s. But...
Yeah, Jay is everywhere. He's all horror, all decades. He is all encompassing. He is the Sandra Bullock of horror.
He is the blind side of horror.
He is the blind side of horror.
You should start using that, Jay. I'm going to make you buttons that just say the blind side of horror. Jay versus horror.
I'll be honest. Like the way I tell people when they ask me, like, I've had people like, what's your specialty or this or that? And I say, look, I consider myself to be like the Dr. Sam Beckett of horror. Okay. If it happened within my lifetime, I'm aware of it. If it happened before that, I'm not responsible for that knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I love the Universal stuff. I love the Hammer horror. But if we're going to like a quiz show or something, I'm passing that off to somebody else I know who knows more about that than I do.
That's what I do with geography. But
if it happens from 1980 till sometime yesterday afternoon, I'll take a crack at it. And if I can't get it, I know I can call you guys. So
yeah.
Hey, well, thank you, Jay.
We're a lifeline. We appreciate being that lifeline for you for the 80s slashers.
And that's what I'm doing.
Hey, by the way, in 70s soft rock, if you ever need any information on 70s soft rock, me and Alec, you can go to us. I have a record store down the road that the guy that works there calls me when he wants to know the name of or the artist of some 70s soft rock songs. So there's two things you can find out with us.
Hey, all I'm really doing is building my Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Lifeline resume.
Oh my God, you really are.
Podcasters are the best.
80s slashers and 70s soft rock. We got you.
I got a guy for everything. I got a guy for James Bond. I got So whatever they ask me.
And I surprisingly know a lot about mushrooms, if that's ever a question.
What the fuck, Alex?
And mods.
Someone just asked me on YouTube why you know so much about the Bible, by the way.
Who, me or you?
You. I know anything about
Because I helped my friend get a degree in theological studies, and I was like a young...
You took her test, didn't you?
What?
Yes, okay.
I helped my friend get a degree when I was in 2007 and 8, 9. Helped my friend get his degree in theological studies. I don't know why this biblical stuff comes in. But I will say, though, J2, for your Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, if you ever have questions about geometry day or pyramid A moths.
Or anything about
I know about
psychology.
I know about their reproductive patterns in different seasons of the year in the Appalachian Mountains.
I know, yes, and I know psychology and school counseling and all different theories of counseling if you ever need that.
I've already decided.
Which it does not sound like I have any place in telling anyone anything about psychology. So, but yeah. So hope you had fun. Hope this wasn't a total.
Yeah, I hope you had fun, Jane. We love you on this show, and I will just say for everybody listening, stay gagged on giant fucking owl heads.
Stay gagged on damn it. Stay gagged on a guitar with a drill on the end. What about you, Jay? What do you want to stay gagged on?
Well, I guess I'll go with man, you guys put me on the spot. I forgot we were gonna.
That's how I
always know that. But
I always surprise Emily when I'm saying stay gagged.
Gag you with a lipstick that comes out of your tit.
I'll say. What was the? Hold on a second. Stay gagged on. Gag me with a knife.
Hey.
Oh, you know what? Thank you. I was going to say stay gagged on Jay versus Horror at the very end of this.
Oh, my God.
I hate you for stealing my thunder. So stay gagged. We're going to gag ourselves with ourselves.
Oh, my God.
That's the best way. I mean,
yeah, I guess, if you could reach.
No safe words.
No safe words.
I have no safe.
Stay gagged on Jay versus Horror because he rules.
100%.
And he'll kick you out. He will kick you out if you are ridiculous.
If you're a bad human being.
If you're a bad human being, you're out.
I screeched when I said that just now. I'm sorry. But, yes, Jay is amazing. We loved him on our show. This is, one of the best episodes I've recorded. I've had so much fun. And
Me too. I hope that Jay is, not getting off this. Oh, my God, what just happened? I am in hell.
Hey, Every one of these I do with every person that I've ever done one with. They're all different and they're all fun, and I love talking to you guys. I mean, I know you. What's fun about it for me is you guys have a specialty and you know a lot about that specialty, and so I know a lot about horror movies, but I kind of can tiptoe around what you guys know and jump in here and there. But it's fun to get your perspective on it because I tell people all the time, I'm like, these two guys. Nobody ever gets me because people will say, have you seen this? I'll be like, yeah. And I'll tell them the whole thing. And they're like, I didn't even know that. But sometimes, very rarely does anybody ever say, hey, have you seen this one? And I'm like, I have never even heard of that. You know what I mean? And you guys have gotten me a couple times. Evil Laugh was one where, and then I watched it. I was like, it actually did.
It's a precursor to Scream.
I kind of enjoy it a little bit. Yeah. I thought it was interesting, and it had some. The scene with the guy's head in the microwave. That's the movie, right?
Oh yeah, with Scott Baio's brother's head in the microwave.
Scott Baio's brother's head in the microwave. It's so funny because he says, doesn't he say the microwave won't work?
He tells them. He goes, it's not going to work if the door doesn't close. He's telling them how to kill him. But yeah.
It was a great. And you know what I liked about that movie too? There was another scene in it where they heard the evil laugh, right? And the guy says, did you hear that? And the guy goes, yeah. And he goes, some other guy says, well, it's probably just this. And that guy goes, bullshit.
And they never know where this other guy is. He's just been gone forever. And they're like,
right.
Oh, he's probably doing one of 75 things. And it's like, no, he's not. No, he's not.
No.
But anyway, okay. Sorry for taking up so much of your time, Jay. I know you're very busy.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
we really enjoyed you having.
Oh my God.
I can't talk. We really enjoyed having you on because you're awesome. I hope that you were okay with this, with what we do.
Thank you for being here, Jay. Like again, you are a huge voice in the horror community on multiple platforms, and it's very awesome that you had some time for us.
No, we are honored. We are honored.
Okay, I've gone from getting charged up from it to now you guys are making me sick, so we got to get off.
Oh my God, he's gonna vote. He's gonna run for president.
We're gagging on being gagged.
We're gagging on Jay, but not in a weird way.
And that's the best.
That's the best segue to end this.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you for listening. Tune in next time.
Did you just say thank me for listening?
Thank you all for listening.
Oh, okay.
And tune in next time when we have more specials and more episodes. And stay gagged.
Go follow Jay everywhere. Not in real life because that's stalking. That's stalking. But follow him on his stuff. Jay versus Horror.